Yep, Cincinnati taking on Alabama in this one. 3:30 Eastern time kick. Alabama 13.5-point favorite at the open here. And Tony Mejia, we're seeing a total of 58 as well on that opening number. I guess we shouldn't be surprised here. You think the public all over Alabama here? Who are you giving the edge to in this game?
Well, I think the public will be all over Alabama, but the line hasn't moved yet. It basically opened 13.5, which surprised me. I thought they'd go for the full, 16 plus. But I guess they fear sharp money coming in on Cincinnati, which means odds makers certainly give Cincinnati more of a chance than I do. I've watched a lot of the Bearcats due to, over the years, due to them being in UCF's conference. So I watch them really closely, and they had their period this season where they were really underwhelming, back-to-back games against Navy and Tulane, where they let those teams hang around. And it was a situation where if they played in, quote-unquote, a real conference where you're getting everybody's best punch week in and week out, they probably wouldn't have survived to be undefeated. But, I'm a huge proponent that resumes are what gets you to where, the Final Four, the college football playoff. And it just happened to work out that the selection committee couldn't keep them out this season. Which is great, but they're going to be a Power 5 within a year or two as well, because I think the deal for them to join the Big 12 will be 2024, but I believe that'll end up being accelerated. And so we'll see how they stack up here. They do have the goods up front to hang with Alabama physically for a couple of quarters, but it's depth that worries me. And that's why maybe if you want to say, hey, Cincinnati's going to hang around, maybe you take the points in that first half. But over the course of 60 minutes, I just trust Alabama's depth a little more. I think they get Cincinnati into a hole, and I don't trust Desmond Ridder as a passer to bring you back. Certainly, he's capable of getting a backdoor cover by using his legs. But, I don't like their receivers either in terms of getting play after play in terms of down the stretch. So I like Alabama to cover this spread, and I think they'll do so with a big second half. I am a little worried about how they're going to replace John Mechie, who went down with the injury in the SEC championship game. But I think certainly Alabama has the goods and resources to get another receiver out there for Young.
So maybe depth here going to be an issue as this game gets later there, Brian? Or do you like Cincinnati's chances to get the cover and maybe even a win?
Yeah, I talked earlier about thinking Georgia was the best team in college football, and I couldn't wait to get to a bowl game so I could bet against Cincinnati. Problem is, I don't know if I can. Cincinnati's the only undefeated team. Obviously, they didn't play the schedule that anybody else did. But, we got an Alabama team who not only lost to Texas A&M, they should have lost at Auburn. If the kid stays in bounds, does not go out of bounds, they lose, and they're not even in this situation. Coming into that Georgia game, there wasn't a lot of people who thought Alabama was the same caliber that they were. So they had one good game against a team that they've dominated in big games over the years. So as far as we are in this season, what do we really know about Alabama? Terrific receivers going to be missing this game, coming off their biggest game of the season in which they totally outplayed Georgia and deserved to win that game. Now they got to go back and play somebody else. Just look at some of the teams that they've had on the schedule this year from Alabama. Most of the teams that were normally very good do not have good seasons. Miami, Florida, A&M had a good season. Mississippi State, not that great. Tennessee was down this year. LSU was down this year. Arkansas started the season very well, didn't end it that way. And then the Auburn game. So really, what do we know from Alabama, even after playing all these games? 13.5 is a high spread here. And I said I was looking to play against Cincinnati in the bowl game, but if this game gets to 14, if I find 14.5 for sure, I'll be on Cincinnati here. The defense can compete with Alabama. I don't know if offensively they can compete against an SEC defense, but yeah, this line seems to be a little bit high here, even though I came into the bowl season chomping at a bit to bet against Cincinnati. I don't think I can at this current line.
It's an interesting line, Dave. I guess, do you trust, Coach Fickell here to have that defense? Can they slow that offense down enough to be able to keep this close?
Well, I'm on the same thought process as Brian, because it's like, gee, I hope Cincinnati gets to the playoffs because they're not as good as these other teams, and they're going to get the shit kicked out of them. But then you see this line, and it's like, oh, okay, well, the odds makers are not making it easy. And if I'm fickle, I'm going to just be drilling this into my team every day. They're not giving us a chance. They're not giving us a chance. We're lucky to be here. I think Cincinnati's going to come on the field with a real point to prove. Now, I don't know that they can stay for 60 minutes with Alabama. Alabama's just awfully good, and the Heisman Trophy winner is the Heisman Trophy winner. He's just a great young player. But I think Cincinnati is going to come out believing in themselves, and I think they've got a chance to hang early. The play I would make here is Cincinnati in the first half. I think they could get run out eventually. And even last year when they played Georgia in the bowl game, clearly a big motivational edge for Cincinnati in that game. And Georgia had a bunch of people out with opt-outs or whatever. Cincinnati still fell apart in the fourth quarter, and the talent took over, and Georgia won the game. Cincinnati covered, fortunately, because I had a 5% play in the Bearcats and did cash it. But it's like, boy, it's a good thing this game doesn't last another 5 minutes because they're going to lose by 20 if that happens. So I'm kind of looking at that as maybe being the same type of game here, where Cincinnati has such a point to prove early, and Alabama could be a little bit overconfident here. They really could be. I think I like Cincinnati first half, but that's as far as I'll go with it.
All right, good stuff there, guys. 3:30 on New Year's Eve, December 31st. We'll know that game first. Who's going to be representing there, playing for a national championship?